Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of Black Health Trust. We are happy to see you with us, and those who join at a later time, we're happy you sought us out. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to our founder, Dr. Randall Maxey.
Thank you very much, Dr. Neighbor Stephen. I want to first wish a happy and blessed Mother's Day to all those to whom that applies who are on the phone, on the Zoom call today. And I did go to church today. And the interesting topic was about a guy named Samuel, who was a major prophet, who was empowered by God to name the king of Israel, despite Saul already being king. But as it turned out, it was really about the fact that God had anointed Samuel, but he anointed Samuel because his mother, even prior to his conception, had prayed for him and promised God that she would dedicate him back to God and he would serve God for the rest of his life. And he was the prophet who chose David as the king of Israel. And interestingly enough, in that story, Saul tried to get a soothsayer to go and get the ghost of Samuel, who was already dead, to say that he should still be the king. And the ghost of Samuel said, because you bothered me when I was asleep, I'm going to redouble my effort to make sure that you're no longer the king. Anyway, I've been very concerned in recent weeks about us having financial stability in our families. And we know that had we come from some of the families that we have, like the neighborhood family and others, where they had financial literacy, that it leads to more longevity and less stress in their lives because they had plans, savings. We were talking earlier and before the show began with how she learned finance from her grandmother, and even in some of her school. So I want to talk a bit about how being financially literate can help your health and your longevity. Let's go with the first slide. And Dr. Neighbor Stevens, I want you to help me.
Okay.
So, can financial health benefit your your longevity? Next slide. So, anti-racism. We know we live in an era of racism, and we have it especially in healthcare. We know that healthcare advocates should focus on anti-racism. We know that there's unequal access to care. We know that as African Americans, we have a higher disease burden in some communities. And we know that there's a high maternal mortality disparity, as well as fetal mortality as well. We know that there are more environmental health risks for many of us where we live and how we live. And we know that there's access to preventive medicine is less in our community. And we know that the leveling of the financial abilities of families needs to be done. Next slide. So, financial health and physical health. Financial stress has been linked to higher risk of cardiovascular disease, hypertension, depression, poor sleep, even to obesity, and a reduced life expectancy. Next slide. That's Neighbor Stevens.
What is financial health? Well, financial health includes a stable income, savings, manageable debt, good credit, insurance protection, retirement preparation, and emergency preparedness.
Next slide. So, what is how stress affects the body? Chronic financial stress increases cortisol. We've talked about it before, and how cortisol leads to inflammation and contributes to high blood pressure, diabetes risk, weight gain, immune dysfunction, and heart disease. Let me know when other moderators get on. Go ahead, Dr. Neighbor Stevens.
Well, I just want to say I'm going to impersonate Dr. Lawson for just half a second because you didn't talk about the psychological
Oh,
impacts of stress.
yeah, we're coming to it. We go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
How stress how stress affects the body. Chronic financial stress increases cortisol and inflammation, which contribute to the development of high blood pressure, diabetes risk, weight gain, immune dysfunction, and heart disease.
Take the next slide if you would.
Cardiovascular disease and financial stress has been shown recently that in studies that suggest that financial strain is associated with increased cardiovascular disease risk and accelerated cardiac aging.
Next slide.
Financial stress and heart disease risk. This bar graph shows us going from left to right, with low stress having a low estimated relative risk of cardiovascular disease at around 15%. And to the far right, the tallest bar, which is the high financial stress, correlates with a 40 plus increased risk of cardiovascular disease.
So this is because of all the increased cortisol in your body, the nervousness, stress. So it's very bad. Next slide. You can take this one since you want to get Dr. Lawson in.
Mental health and finances. Financial insecurity may contribute to anxiety, depression, chronic stress, sleep disorders, and reduced quality of life.
Next slide.
Healthy
So,
behaviors improve with financial stability. People with stronger financial stability may have better access to healthy food, preventive health care, exercise opportunities, medications, and stable housing.
you think that would pay for my 24-hour fitness?
That's right.
So longevity and healthy aging. Studies suggest healthier cardiovascular systems and reduced stress are associated with a slower biological aging process and a longer life expectancy. I need to be very stable. Next slide.
No, to get to where you are, you need to have been stable. If you
That's,
hadn't been stable, you wouldn't have gotten to where you are.
thank you very much.
Practical financial wellness strategies. Build an emergency fund, reduce high interest debt, improve credit, maintain health insurance, invest consistently, and create retirement plans.
Next slide.
I tell you why I said what I said a few minutes ago. I've actually been thinking about this off and on all morning, thinking about our young people. What started me on this, they were talking about the graduations that are beginning to occur in our community, as I'm sure they're occurring in everybody's community, and what these new graduates are facing in terms of job opportunities or not, as unfortunately the case seems to be increasingly to be. And I was thinking about what that impact is going to be on that whole generation of kids, but not only them, what are the younger ones going to be thinking when they see that their older siblings and cousins are struggling, even though they went to college and went through all the changes they had to go through to get to college? And maybe we can come back and talk about that a little bit.
We can. And at this slide, only the last one I'm talking about, intergenerational wealth. That is so important that we all do want to have that and make sure not only our kids, but our grandchildren and potentially great grandchildren have the ability to have it even better than we might have had it. Next slide. Take this one, Doctor.
Financial stability and healthy aging. On this very colorful slide, the blue line is financially stable lifestyle, and the orange line is high financial stress. And going from left to right, we will go from 40 years of age to 80 years of age, with the estimated health index on the left side going up. So we see that at age 40, the estimated health index, which would be assuming that you're in good health, is at its peak. And the blue line goes down as you get older, as your financially stable lifestyle decreases. The orange line, as I said, is the high financial stress. Your financial stress and your estimated health index are proportionate. The estimated health index is highest at the oldest age when you have high financial stress in your life.
So, in other words, you can be alive, but don't know where you are in a nursing home and somebody has to wipe your butt. But you want to be aging in a healthy way. Next slide. So, financial survival and independence and generational wealth. Next slide.
Community strategies for economic health. Why economic strength matters. Economic power creates stability. Ownership builds opportunity. Financial literacy protects families. Health creates future options.
That financial literacy is very important. You mentioned that before, Doctor.
Yeah, and Dr. Walks has joined us. I heard on the radio this morning when I was running around an ad for an app. I won't name the app. That, and I was listening to the black radio station. And so it was obviously targeting the black community. And this app was going to immediately enable you to access to $10,000 loan and help you to be financially stable and make money going forward. And I just shook my head.
Mm, mm, mm. So first of all, $10,000 is no money. They probably charge you 20% interest or something.
Mhm.
Hello, Dr. Walks.
Hello, Dr. Maxey, Dr. Barbara Neighbor Stevens. I apologize. It's Mother's Day. I was trying to stay married. So
Very, very
just
good.
left
Did it work?
church.
It's cheaper to keep her. Next slide. You want to take it, Dr. Walks?
Sure. Okay.
Next slide. There you go.
Financial literacy as protection. Learn budgeting and investing. Understand credit and taxes. Ooh, big one here. Teach children financial skills. And knowledge reduces exploitation, and helps you stay married.
Yeah. So Dr. Walks, me and Dr. Neighbor Stephen were talking about teaching children financial skills, and she was taught financial skills before school even. And
Oh yeah.
also the exploitation, she was talking about this $10,000 loan, which probably come at 100% interest or something like that. Next slide.
Mm.
That's Neighbor Stevens.
Ownership creates power. Homes and land create equity. Businesses create recurring income. Ownership supports independence, and communities benefit from investment.
Next slide. Dr. Walks.
Entrepreneurship and business. Business ownership builds wealth. Technology and healthcare offer opportunities. Innovation supports community growth, and entrepreneurship creates jobs. Amen.
And those jobs should be for other people. Next slide. A lot of times you hear people say, get a job. You don't want a job. You want ownership that'll make other people have jobs. Take
True.
this one, that's Neighbor Stevens.
Long-term investing. Invest consistently over time. Doesn't mean that, but I would say parenthetically, it doesn't mean you're investing in the same thing but over long time, but invest consistently. Compound growth builds wealth. Diversify carefully, but absolutely diversify. And think long term.
That graph, can you see the graph?
Now we can.
Okay. Dr. Walks.
The key pillars of financial strength. Number one, financial literacy. Number two, ownership and investment. Number three, technology participation. And number four, health and discipline. Key pillars of financial strength. Okay.
Next slide. Okay. Health and economic power. Is preventative health care protects your wealth. Chronic illness increases economic risk. Mental health affects decisions in a bad way sometimes.
Mm.
And healthy communities are much stronger. Next slide. Dr. Barbara.
Technology and the future. AI and blockchain are changing finance. Technology ownership creates opportunity. Learn digital skills early. Participate in future industries.
One of the reasons I put this slide in, there's a lot of interest that the US dollar is getting ready to be digitalized and backed by gold and silver. And that blockchain technology is going to take over the way we do banking. And it's important that we know that and what it really means. What does blockchain technology mean? What is AI? How is all this going to work so you don't get screwed? So things we didn't have to know 10 years ago, we need to know now. Don't just say I'm too old. You need to know this for your family and your future. Next line. Dr. Walks.
As you just said, Dr. Maxey, teaching the next generation. Teach investing and ownership. Encourage STEM education. Promote leadership and discipline. Generational knowledge creates, and I'll add generational wealth.
Very good. Next line. Dr. Barbara.
Economic empowerment and resilience. Education strengthens communities. Ownership reduces vulnerability. I might want to think about that one. I can think of a big exception to that. Strategic planning builds stability, and economic strength supports resilience.
Next slide. So in conclusion, we know that financial literacy, ownership, entrepreneurship, technology, participation helps with preventative health, and discipline planning can help create a stronger families and lasting generational wealth for the families that we love. I think that's the last slide. Is there one more?
Says conclusion.
No surprise signs after that?
So
And
the reason I said what I just said is I think there are a number of things that we are witnessing that will go down in history as monumental moments in the evolution of our country. And one of those is the I'm observing, and I'm sure, many people are observing with just consternation how um, our government is totally bullying business. Now, one could argue that some businesses made themselves vulnerable to this because of certain relationships that they developed. But there are a lot of businesses that did not engage in those relationships, and they are being just bulldozed. I can't think of a better term. They're being bulldozed um, through the power that is currently being wielded by the government. Now, I'm saying that in anger, but I'm not saying that in despondency, because I think we need to learn from this. And if we don't learn from it, shame on us. But we need to learn from this and use that knowledge going forward. So, my point is just because you own your business does not mean that you are not subject to external forces that you maybe momentarily be impossible to control.
So an illustration of that, they had a lot of information on this guy named Ted Turner,
Mhm.
who was the founder of CNN, and he made one of the biggest deals at that time in life with Time Warner and with AOL, and he got $8 billion when he sold CNN. But in that process, he became vice chairman of the board. And then the bubble burst in Technic, and he went down to having only $1 billion instead of $8 billion. And he had no power and couldn't say anything. But the key to that is he wasn't diversified at that point. Or he was personally diversified. And the one thing that you don't usually lose control of is land if you own. So if you have a diversified portfolio, including land and other things that aren't subject to just the whim of a government, that is part of what makes success. So financial literacy, good planning, and diversification are very important. That's a good point you brought up, Dr. Neighbor Stephen. What are your thoughts, Dr. Wilkes?
I I know too much about Ted Turner and about some of the company he kept and some of the friends he had and some of the ways that he expressed his feelings about Black people. So yes, nice that he did a lot of other things besides just not like us. Um, but I have a lot of when we look at diversifying our our portfolios and we look at safeguarding whatever generational wealth that we put together. To Dr. Neighbor Stevens' point, I worked in a company once that was owned by very, very wealthy physician, Ron DeSorts. Ron had a lot of money, and Ron was a big Democrat, big Democrat. But one of his private jets he sent to carry George W. Bush to the Republican convention one year. So he sent the jet to carry the big Republican who was going to run for president, and he sent those of us who were Democrats to another event. And I learned from him, and I've met a few other people that have serious money. And the ones that are smart, they don't put all their eggs in one basket or the other. You will see them, they will hire Republicans, they will hire Democrats, they will hire independents, and they will make sure that one of their people is at all the big events, Republican, Democrat, or what have you, so that they can protect against exactly what Dr. Neighbor Stevens is talking about. And woe be to those of us who are trying to make big business deals and think that, you know, our guy or our gal is always going to be running things. This country doesn't work that way. So, but I feel sad, Dr. Maxey. You made me feel sad because you said the man lost his money and only had $1 billion left. I feel so bad. He was only
Poor
down to
guy.
1 billion.
But it turned out he was the biggest landowner, I think, in the country.
In the world.
Yeah, yeah. He
Yeah.
owned a lot of land in this country, and he to Dr. Neighbor Stevens' point about diversifying. You know, he owned CNN, but he also owned the Atlanta Braves. He owned the Atlanta Hawks. So he's in the, you know, he's in the NFL, he's in the NBA, he's in tech, he's in land. You know, we need to be more like that. We
So
need
if
to
Dr. Lawson was on, I'd say he also owned the Bisons. He
he did own Bison, yes. And you know what, Dr. Maxey, the other thing is, let me say this. The fact that you pay attention to so much and you know so much about Ted Turner and about so many other things is a very important part of building generational wealth. We have to know who else is in the world and what's going on in the world and what people are doing. You are talking about blockchain and Bitcoin. If anybody says to me, "Oh, I'm too old to learn about this," I'm gonna say, "Really? Have you met Randall Maxey?" Because as long as we are in this world and we have people that we care about, we have got to, as my wife likes to say, you got to keep up. You got to keep up.
That's right.
That's true. So another thing, this may be a curveball, but I had such a good feeling in church today when he was talking about this lady named Hannah, who was the mother of Samuel.
Yeah.
And they said, you're alive today because somebody prayed for you. And
Mm.
usually for most of us, it was your mother, your grandmother, or some mother figure. And I pray that I'm still walking, still living, no reasonably where I am at the age of 84. Many other people have gone before, and at least I'm kicking at least until tomorrow. And I give thanks to my mom for giving me that prayer. And nobody has the love of a mother. In fact, my father once told me, he said, if ever you have to make a choice between me and your mother, choose your mother, because that's the one that has unending love for you. If there are any others on the line that want to say a happy Mother's Day to their mother or their mother figure, the floor is going to be open to do that until we end our broadcast.
So I'll follow up on what your dad said, Dr. Maxey. My mom used to say that the only commandment of the Ten Commandments that comes with a promise is the one that is honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long on the earth. So the fact that you are honoring your mom and are running around causing trouble, hanging out with me in California a couple of weeks ago, driving all over the place, means that you must have honored your parents very well. And so got some extra days. I got to come back and hang out with you some more.
There you go. That's also the 93rd song. That's Neighbor Stevens.
Well,
How was Mama Neighbor?
I am blessed. I am very blessed. I have,
By Mama Neighbor, I mean your mother.
well, that's why I'm so blessed. I have the blessings of the mother and the grandmother that I really knew, and the great great grandmother that I only briefly and partially knew, but yet and still gave me insight into being a slave. So I am truly blessed.
Simon, is there anybody else who wants to be unmuted? Any comments on our subject today of financial literacy? And I'm glad I picked that topic because I started out negative. I was going to do a topic of racism and how bad for black people and all that. And I said, no, let me go the positive way and figure out how to deal with anti-racism, which is financial stability, I believe.
You did well. Juliana Taylor has her hand up, Dr. Max.
Miss Taylor, can you unmute her, Simon?
He did.
Okay, I lost the Zoom image for a second there, a few seconds. I just want to say Happy Mother's Day to my own mother, who I spoke with earlier this afternoon. Reverend, got to get the title right, Reverend Dr. Ethelyn R. Taylor, who is now 93 years old.
Oh, good for her. Bless her heart.
Just retired a couple years ago at the age of 90 from her second career.
Wow.
As an ordained minister within the Presbyterian Church, which I may have mentioned before. Her first career was as a classroom teacher for 30 years for both careers. And she's still running around like she hasn't yet retired, still driving her own vehicle, driving better than some 20-something-year-olds, and still quite feisty and fearless. And that's it.
Thank Lord for her.
Love it. Love it.
Thank you.
I just want to comment, Dr. Maxey, while we're seeing if anyone else wants to make a comment. Juliana Taylor's comment about her amazing mom talking about her being a classroom teacher. I can't think of anything more important with this topic of financial literacy than making it part of all the other stuff that we do, right? We send kids to school, we teach them, hopefully we teach them a little bit of math and they can count and they can add and subtract. I don't think we take that far enough and teach them about the investing and the saving and and all of that. And then I don't know, Dr. Maxey and Dr. Neighbor Stevens, how many financial literacy courses did you all have in medical school?
Not one. Only financial literacy I had was in embalming school and put me in the funeral director. There they taught me.
Yeah. No, it's important, right?
Well, yeah, and before you joined, Dr. Walks, I brought this up, and I'm gonna bring it up again because I have really been kind of where I go preaching this, trying to sow a seed. Growing up in the segregated South and depending on our community for everything has left me with this burning desire to see us reinstate some of our former practices of having our own schools in our own churches. Because not only do they need to learn financial literacy, I don't know about the other states. I hear regularly about Tennessee's school stats. And the third graders and the fourth graders, the majority of them are still failing math and reading advancement tests. So I suspect that Tennessee is not the only state that is seeing that. And part of it is being attributed to what is being included in the curriculums in our schools. Not even getting into who's teaching, how they teaching, and what resources are available in the school. Just the basic curriculum. To some people, I'm not early education or a secondary school teacher, but there's a lot of conversation about the corruption of what has been going on in early education because of a number of factors, not the least of which is tech. There's a lot of concern about what introduction of tablets, computers, and phones are doing to how kids develop their brains to learn, as well as the content which they are getting, and just the basic activity of scrolling disrupts another process in the development of the brain and even in adults in being able to process information. We have unintended consequences, unknown consequences associated with all of our so-called advances. But some of it can be undone by going back and making sure that the kids understand and know the basics. They need to know the basics of reading, writing, and math. At the same time, they need to know our history, and then we can throw in learning how to financially be successful.
Is
So,
Monopoly a
so
good game for a kid to learn?
I'm sorry?
Is Monopoly a good game for a kid to learn? Does that help financially? The game of Monopoly.
I love Monopoly as a as a kid.
Hmm.
Um, and I also love Detective. But yes, that's a good way. Just as I told you earlier in my first grade class, we our math was reinforced by the little cardboard school that my teacher had made for us, where you would go shopping. Everybody was given play money, and we went shopping. But if you were good in math, you get to be the store clerk because you could work the register and make change. So everybody wanted to get good in math so that they could be the clerk. So, that kind of ingenuity, if we just had, if we could, I'm not saying go back to the past. We need to bring the past forward and integrate it in what we're doing. And I think the institution of the Black church is where a lot of this can be grounded because that's where it was before. The
okay.
early colleges, Morehouse and Spelman started in church basements.
So let me you okay. I'm going to try to focus my thoughts because that's always hard for me to do because I go all over the place. And while I'm trying not to ramble, Dr. Sherrod had her hand up also, Dr. Maxey. But let me say this. We those of us who are smart enough, and that's everybody on this call, smart enough to finish high school, go to college, finish college, go to medical school, whatever. I talk a lot about gateway degrees. I have an MD degree. It is a gateway degree. Many people see that MD after my name and they think that I'm smart and they think it means that I can contribute someplace. I have served 5 years on the Maryland State Board of Education, doing things I never thought that I would do because I'm not an educator by training, but I could serve on that state board because the governor thought I could contribute, and I did. And I think we need to get out of the places where we are trained to be and look at the places where we can serve. I attend a church that has a school that is part of that church. There are so many things that we can do in addition to the great healthcare stuff that we do. And I just think we have to don't get weary in well doing. Look for opportunities. And I know I've mentioned this before many, many times. We can go to the schools. We can make classroom visits. You just have to, you can't just show up, but you can let the teachers know, let the principal know you want to come and be in the classroom. You can do that.
Yep.
So everything that's wrong, anything that's wrong in our country, we have to decide that we are going to get involved one way or another because we can.
Excellent
I'm
point.
sorry.
Let Dr. Sherrod speak a minute. Can we unmute Dr. Sherrod?
Oh, good afternoon and happy Mother's Day
Good
to
afternoon.
everybody.
Happy Mother's Day.
And
Yeah,
Mother.
again, a great topic, Dr. Maxey. I think financial literacy is a pillar that needs to really start in grade school. You know,
Yes.
we talk about math and physics and all that stuff in the educational process, but there's no course in financial management, what things you need to do financially to survive in this American society. So I really appreciate this particular session that you're having. Also wanted to give tribute to my mother has passed on, but I had a grandmother that lived to 110, and her
Mm.
only
Wow.
request was to never take her to a doctor. So she never saw a doctor in those 110 years.
Wow.
And so she knew a lot about surviving with natural or herbal care. The other thing concerning financial literacy, I think I learned it early on because I had my first job in the third grade selling milk so that I could get free lunch.
Okay.
So
right.
that was the beginning of my financial, being able to sell the milk and give the change back to the young people who are buying the milk. I think it's so important. I wanted to say we honored my sister, my older sister, who turned 85. Will be turning 85 on Monday. We honored her 85th birthday yesterday,
Oh, great.
and Dorothy Chambliss in Hammond, Indiana. And she is fully functional in the church, and she retired from Sears Roebuck as one of the managers. And so we gave a great tribute to her for what she contributed to my life because she was like a mother to me. And so we appreciate all of the things that she shared in my growing up. Actually, she's responsible for me becoming valedictorian of my high school class because she was salutatorian when I was in the 5th grade. And she came home so happy being salutatorian. And I said, well, what is salutatorian? And she said, well, if you make the good grades from the 9th to the 12th grade, you could be salutatorian if you're second, but you could be first and be valedictorian. So I decided then in 5th grade that I was going to be valedictorian. And I am valedictorian because Dorothy told me what valedictorian what required. So it's important to pass the information down. And honors to all the mothers, godmothers, grandmothers, all of the mothers. We all have that ability.
And mother
Thank
figures, some of the mother figures as well.
Exactly.
For honoring your ancestors. Is there anybody else want to make any other statements?
Dr. Gibson's hand is up.
Let's recognize Dr. Gibson. Let's unmuting.
Greetings to everyone. Happy Mother's Day to every one of us, because we should all celebrate Mother's Day, because quite honestly, I can't think anybody doesn't have a mother. Think about that one. That's like contemplating the sound of one hand clapping. It just doesn't work that way. It's important for us to realize the profound significance of what Dr. Maxey is bringing forward to us, because the Korean community, they have care, where they sit around the table and they all push their treasure to the center of the table and do like Dr. Neighbor Stevens was talking about. You see, unfortunately, I did fortunately, I went to all black schools all the way from kindergarten through high school, but I went to majority school after that. All the way through all the work that I did. Now, what's up with that? Well, a lot, quite frankly, because when you get to the point where you're in a position to make those network contacts that Dr. Walks is talking about, which are very, very important to multiplying and growing financial networks, both personal and, for that matter, religious, community, and the like. I think we could stand to learn something from Dr. Neighbor Stevens when she says, let's get back to basics. Let's start dealing with some things, because Dr. Walks dropped some serious knowledge of, maybe that was Dr. Neighbor Stevens, I don't know, that those major colleges started in the church. I didn't know that. I guess because I was not fortunate enough to study in HBCU. But I will say that we can embrace lifelong learning, whatever we do, so that if you didn't learn the power of compounding interest in middle school or high school, take it upon yourself, because people, when they're doom scrolling, somebody mentioned scrolling and that sort of thing. Well, when you just waste time scrolling on nothing, that's what happens. But if you do targeted self-teaching, autodidactics, that's right. Brother, teach thyself, sister, teach thyself. You can learn a lot if you target your efforts. So hats off to you, Dr. Maxey, for what you're offering up, and to particularly Dr. Neighbor Stevens and Dr. Walks for the nuggets that they offer up today. for us, especially for the youngins.
And thank you, Dr. Gibson.
Thank you, Dr. Gibson.
Anybody
So
else?
Dr. Maxey,
Hands up.
I don't see any other hands up. Just because Dr. Lawson is not with us today, I'm gonna put my psychiatrist hat on and say that when we are talking about financial literacy, you mentioned there were a couple of slides that had the two words on there, mental health. And it is absolutely impossible to be in a good state of mental health when you have money troubles. You just can't. You just can't. And I think that we don't connect that often enough. We don't connect the stress when folks are not able to pay their bills. The fact that, Dr. Neighbor Stevens mentioned something that is so just pervasive in our community. These get rich quick scheme. I'll lend you all the money you want. Here's another credit card. There's always something like that coming for us in our community. And if they never made any money, if they never got any money from us, they wouldn't keep doing it. But they keep doing it because we will continue to go after those, because the pressure of having financial trouble is hard. It's one of the biggest reasons that relationships break up. And we talk about the power of an intact family. Black families struggle a lot of times because of finances. People struggle because people go to crime. All kinds of challenges in our community go back to this issue, Dr. Maxey. So I don't know. It's hard to say that it's that it's not one of the most important things we can talk about. It really is one of the most important things we can talk about.
Well,
That's true.
I agree 100% with what you said. And we have done it in the past, and I hope that we will continue to do what I'm about to say in the future, and that is looking at the impact of our times on child development, because it's intertwined in all of this.
Yes. Okay, can I say something about Monopoly?
Yes.
Maybe Monopoly is important because it teaches you about money and counting, but you can't play Monopoly by yourself. Families played Monopoly. Folks would sit around with siblings and parents and play Monopoly. And it's so important to do something that has that family time in the middle of it. So I love Monopoly.
So we had about 5 or 6 different prayer sessions a day in church. The one I was most impressed with are those who have a mother, but they have a fractured relationship with her.
Mhm.
And I said, that's so innovative that we never think of that. So while some of us have great memories of our mothers and mother figures, some of us aren't so fortunate, and we have not a good opinion or a good relationship. And we prayed for that. And it's very important to your mental stability, I believe, and your financial stability to have someone who you know loves you. And some of us
Yes.
didn't have that. And that leads to all sorts of stuff in your life that may go wrong. And we pray that we help to fix that. So it's important that you have those relationships. One lady that I remember to call today on the way home from church was a former receptionist of mine who would call me yesterday. And she says that her son-in-law, who lives in her house with her daughter, disrespects her
Hmm.
in language. And her daughter has no time for her. So she wanted a recommendation to go to a senior citizen's home so she can have somebody to talk to. And she expressed herself as being in a valley. And what came to mind that we walked through the valley of the shadow of death, not death, but the shadow of death. And I called another friend of mine who has had COVID, been on our show, had post COVID mental syndrome. And I said, "Can you pray for my friend Pam?" And she did. I said, "Just pray a short prayer because I'm busy." She said, "Pray 3 or 5 minutes." 20 minutes later, she stopped praying. And I said, "Okay." I said, "Now I don't even have to go to church." Then she started praying for me. So it's very important, the communication that we have, and we look and have friendships and unfracture some of those relationships. So we ask those people who had a fractured relationship with their mom to pray for them and give God their grace anyway. Amen.
You know, I want to bring up another side of this whole issue of having a mother and or not having a mother. It was very troubling to me to hear that one of the initiatives that is currently being pursued by the administration is to set up these basic detention camps for children in foster care. And what disturbed me, that disturbed me. I mean, the fact that that is even something that somebody would think of doing.
Explain that a minute. What's a detention camp for kids?
They are in the process of trying to build these detention camps, and they're going to take all these kids that are in foster care and put them instead of trying to place them in homes, which, okay, there are some issues with that. But they're planning to put the kids in detention camps. Now, no one said, and I don't know, is what they think is what they plan to do with these kids after they reach majority, because I suspect this is not the end of the story. But what disturbed me more than even the fact that this is a thing is that I didn't hear people upset about it.
This is the first I've heard about it. That's major. This is why, like Dr. Walker said, we need to know what people are doing, go to our school boards, and we need to have a plan against that.
But this isn't a local strategy.
Okay, so Dr. Neighbor Stevens, let me tell you something you already know. These are the same people that want a right to life. Every fertilized egg has the right to be born, but we ain't gonna take care of the kids. We got nothing to do with the kids. We just want to make sure they get born. These are the same people. They're gonna put these children in a detention center, and they will have wonderful jails waiting for them when they get old enough, because this is all about somebody who is going to get a contract to build and run these detention centers. So this is just awful chapter 7. This all this is awful chapter 7.
What's the difference in chapter 7 and chapter 13?
More the same, more the same.
We're at
It's
the top
awful.
of the hour. That's very disturbing. That's neighbors here. That's very disturbing. We need to talk about that and deal with it. So we want to let people get to their Mother's Day dinners if they still have them. Let's go for final comments. Dr. Walks.
Thank you, Dr. Maxey. What a great topic, and it's great to be here for Mother's Day. In church today, our pastor did something that I thought was really important. He asked all the mothers to stand, of course, and then he asked all of the folks to stand who had lost their mom within the last year. And several people stood up and had folks just reach out and reach hands to them. And then he had all the moms who had lost a child stand up and had folks reach out hands to them and hug them. And I think that the take home message from that is that all of us don't experience the same thing at the same time. We may all be celebrating Mother's Day, but Juliana Taylor put a comment in that aunties count too. I had a wonderful mother, and I had a wonderful aunt, my Aunt Jean. So I think it's important that we recognize that all of us have an opportunity to pour into young people and to help shore up our families, because some kids will lose a mom for any number of awful reasons. And the people that step in, all those aunties and grandmothers that step in,
Mhm.
they matter a lot. They matter a lot. So happy Mother's Day to everyone, everyone, everyone.
That's Neighbor Stevens.
Well, my closing thought is one of thanksgiving
Mm,
for having had the life that I've had and the people in it. And since we're observing Mother's Day, the women who played a tremendous role. I I have from time to time talked about my mother and my grandmother, but I haven't talked about my aunts one who was first black CPA in Tennessee, who did a lot. She taught me a lot about business, um, and other aunts. So those of us who have had these women in their lives, we were truly blessed, and I am thankful.
Thank you,
yeah.
Neighbor Stevens. As my final comment, I'm going to bring up another exception that I heard in church today. Not only do some of us have a fractured relationship with mother, but there are many mothers who, for one reason or another, may have lost a child and sometimes lost them through an abortion, but they still feel a sense of guilt through that.
Mm,
And again, these have great mental health concerns. It's something you did when you were 18 or 25 or even older because of circumstance. And the word was, you're not guilty, was not your fault. That none of us are perfect. We all make mistakes. We all do things that we see as right at the time, but you're not guilty. You need to forgive yourself and trust in God. And I want to thank God for women in general. Women in general, whether your mother, auntie, play auntie, or just a female. Thank God for you. Have a great day. Enjoy the day. Enjoy your family. Thank you, Simon, for the help. Thank you, my co moderators. Have a great day.
good day, everyone.
Bye.